The first gunman burst through the gas station door at 2:15 a.m., his weapon raised and face covered by a ski mask. "Open the register now," he screamed, while two others spread out to block the exits. Behind the bulletproof glass, Samantha Foster looked up from her magazine with an expression that wasn't fear. It was assessment. In the 3 seconds it took the robbers to position themselves, she had already identified their weapons, noted their tactical errors, and formulated a response plan that would have impressed her old Marine Corps drill instructors. Welcome to the Silent Heroes. Before we continue this powerful story of hidden courage and unbreakable spirit, tell us in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. We're growing every day, and your support helps us honor those who served with distinction. Miller's 24-hour gas station sat at the intersection of Route 9 and County Road 15, a beacon of fluorescent light in the rural darkness outside Cedar Falls. It wasn't much to look at: 2 pumps, a small convenience store, and a bulletproof booth that had been installed after a robbery 3 years earlier. But for the truckers, shift workers, and insomniacs who needed fuel and coffee at all hours, it was a reliable refuge from the empty highways. Samantha Foster had worked the night shift for 18 months, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 days a week. At 34, she was efficient without being friendly, helpful without being personal. She kept the coffee fresh, the hot dogs rotating, and the beer cooler stocked. Her name tag read simply Sam, and most customers never bothered to learn her last name. What they didn't know was that Staff Sergeant Samantha Foster had spent 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, the last 4 as military police specializing in convoy security operations. She had escorted supply trucks through the most dangerous roads in Iraq, where every pothole could hide an EID and every overpass could conceal a sniper. Her Purple Heart came from a roadside bomb that had flipped her Humvee outside Fallujah, leaving her with a reconstructed left knee and memories that still visited her dreams. The attack had happened during her second tour, when her convoy was escorting medical supplies to Forward Operating Base Liberty. The blast killed her gunner, Corporal Martinez, and wounded 2 other Marines. Despite her own injuries, a shattered kneecap and concussion that left her disoriented, Samantha had crawled from the wreckage and established a defensive perimeter while calling in the medevac. She'd held that position for 47 minutes under intermittent sniper fire, protecting her wounded teammates until air support arrived. The transition to civilian life had been harder than combat. The VA had offered disability benefits, but Sam preferred to work. The nightmares came regularly, dreams of burning vehicles and the sound of Martinez calling her name. Some nights she would wake up reaching for gear that wasn't there, her body preparing for threats that existed only in memory. The gas station job wasn't glamorous, but it was honest employment that let her pay her bills and maintain the independence she'd fought so hard to preserve. The overnight shift suited her chronic insomnia, and the bulletproof booth reminded her of guard posts she'd manned in forward operating bases. More importantly, the job gave her a sense of purpose, protecting the small corner of America that came through her doors, one coffee sale and lottery ticket at a time. She'd chosen this life deliberately: quiet, predictable, safe. The closest thing to danger was the occasional drunk customer or mechanical problems with the pumps. After years of scanning for threats in hostile territory, the routine was almost therapeutic. That Tuesday night started like any other. Sam had restocked the coffee machine, counted the register, and settled in with a paperback thriller. A small irony she appreciated. The late-night crowd was typical. A trucker grabbing energy drinks for the road, a nurse finishing her hospital shift, a college kid buying cigarettes with a fake ID. She pretended not to notice. At 2:10 a.m., a beat-up sedan pulled up to Pump 3, but nobody got out. Sam's attention sharpened slightly, not alarm, just the situational awareness that had kept her alive in Iraq. The car sat there for 3 minutes, engine running, windows tinted too dark to see inside. Old habits made her note the license plate and positioning. At 2:15, everything changed. The first gunman came through the door, like he owned the place, a sawed-off shotgun in his hands, and confidence in his stride. He was followed immediately by 2 others, one with a pistol, who moved to block the front entrance, another with what looked like a .38 revolver, who covered the back exit near the restrooms. "Nobody move!" the leader shouted, his voice muffled by the ski mask. "Open that register right now, or somebody gets hurt." Behind the bulletproof glass, Sam set down her book with deliberate calm. Her mind immediately shifted into tactical mode, the same mental state that had saved her life on convoy runs through Anbar province. 3 hostiles, small arms, amateur coordination. Primary threat, shotgun. Effective range limited, but devastating close quarters. Secondary threats, handguns, probably inexperienced based on grip and stance. No body armor visible. Movement patterns suggest no military training. Tactical assessment, manageable with proper response. The booth's security system was more sophisticated than it appeared. Along with the bulletproof glass, it had a silent alarm linked directly to the county sheriff's office, a separate phone line for emergencies, and, thanks to Sam's own modifications, several defensive options that weren't listed in the employee manual. "I said open it!" the leader demanded, stepping closer to the glass and brandishing the shotgun. "Don't make me count to 3. Sam looked at him with the same steady gaze she'd once used to stare down insurgents at military checkpoints. "The register's on a time lock," she said calmly. "Won't open until the manager comes in at 6. It was a lie, but it bought her time to implement her plan. The gunman's eyes narrowed. "You think I'm stupid? There's got to be an override." "There is," Sam replied, "but it requires a supervisor code that I don't have." While they argued, Sam's hands moved with practiced efficiency below the counter. She activated the silent alarm with her left hand, while her right reached for the emergency lockdown switch she'd installed herself, a modification that would seal the exits and trap the robbers inside until police arrived. The leader fired a shot into the ceiling, raining down acoustic tiles and making his partners jump. "Enough games! Open that register, or I start shooting customers." That's when Sam noticed the elderly man crouched behind the candy aisle. Harold Brennan, a regular who stopped by every Tuesday night for coffee and lottery tickets. He was 73 years old, lived alone since his wife died, and didn't deserve to be terrorized by 3 punks who thought desperation made them dangerous. "Sir," Sam called to Harold, her voice carrying the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed in crisis situations. "There's an emergency exit behind the beer cooler. Take it, now." The gunman whirled toward Harold, raising his weapon. "Nobody moves. I said nobody." Sam hit the lockdown switch. The exit sealed with a solid mechanical click that echoed through the store. The gunman spun around in confusion as steel plates slid down over the windows and doors, transforming the convenience store into a contained environment with one way in or out, through Sam's booth. "What the hell did you do?" the leader screamed, his composure cracking. Sam stood up slowly, her movements precise and controlled. For the first time since they'd entered, the robbers could see her clearly. A woman who looked like she worked at a gas station, until you noticed the way she held herself, the calculated calm in her eyes, the bearing that spoke of training most people never received. "I secured the perimeter," she said simply. "Standard operating procedure when dealing with hostile forces." The second gunman looked around frantically at the sealed exits. "Hostile forces?" "Lady, this is just a robbery." "Not anymore," Sam replied. "Now it's a tactical situation with 3 armed suspects, 1 civilian and a Marine." She reached under the counter again, and when her hand emerged, it held a Sig Sauer P320, her personal sidearm, legally owned and expertly maintained. The robbers' eyes widened as they realized they'd just brought knives to a gunfight, metaphorically speaking. "Here's what's going to happen," Sam continued, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who had disarmed insurgents and diffused convoy ambushes. "You're going to set those weapons on the floor, lie face down with your hands behind your heads, and wait for the sheriff's department to arrive. Or we can do this the hard way." The leader tried to regain control. "There's 3 of us, and 1 of you. You're trapped in that booth." Sam smiled grimly. "I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. And I've had training you couldn't imagine." The standoff lasted exactly 15 seconds before the leader made his move, bringing the shotgun to bear on the booth. Sam was faster. 8 years of combat training against 3 amateur criminals wasn't even a fair fight. Her first shot took out the overhead lights, plunging the store into near darkness except for the emergency lighting. The tactical advantage was immediate. She could see them silhouetted against the dim red exit signs, but they couldn't locate her position in the bulletproof booth. Her second shot sparked off the floor near the leader's feet, sending him diving for cover behind a snack display. The other 2 gunmen panicked, firing wildly in directions that threatened nobody but themselves. Sam had learned this technique during urban warfare training at Camp Pendleton. Control the lighting, control the battlefield. In Iraq, she'd used similar tactics during night raids, turning the enemy's environment against them. The convenience store wasn't much different from a compound in Fallujah, just different stakes and different rules of engagement. "Final warning!" Sam called out, her voice cutting through the darkness with battlefield authority. "Weapons down, or I start aiming center mass." The psychological warfare worked. These weren't hardened criminals. They were desperate amateurs who had expected easy money from a quiet gas station. They hadn't counted on running into a combat veteran who treated their robbery attempt like just another day at the office. One by one, they dropped their weapons and surrendered. Sheriff Linda Carruthers arrived 20 minutes later with backup, expecting to find a hostage situation or worse. Instead, she found 3 suspects, zip-tied with emergency restraints Sam kept in the booth, sitting quietly while a gas station attendant calmly filled out an incident report. "Sam," the sheriff said, looking around at the scene, "what exactly happened here?" Sam looked up from her paperwork. 3 armed subjects attempted to rob the store. I neutralized the threat and secured the suspects for your arrival. Sheriff Carruthers had known Sam for over a year, but had never heard her talk like that. Precise, professional, military. Where did you learn to handle something like this? For the first time in 18 months, Sam talked about her past. United States Marine Corps, Sheriff, military police, convoy security, 8 years active duty, 3 combat deployments. As the suspects were loaded into patrol cars and the store was processed as a crime scene, word began to spread through the small community. Sheriff Carruthers made sure to mention Sam's military background in her report, noting that the textbook tactical response had prevented potential casualties and property damage. By morning, the story had reached the local newspaper. Gas station clerk stops armed robbery, reveals military hero past. The article mentioned Sam's Purple Heart, earned when her convoy was hit by an IED while protecting a supply run that delivered critical medical supplies to a forward operating base. It described how she'd continued directing traffic control despite her injuries, ensuring that wounded Marines received the supplies they needed to survive. Local veterans organizations took notice immediately. The American Legion Post in Cedar Falls had been searching for community members to honor during their upcoming Veterans Day ceremony, and Sam's story provided exactly the kind of inspiration they'd hoped to find. 3 weeks later, the Miller's gas station had become something of a local landmark. Customers stopped by not just for fuel and coffee, but to meet the Marine who had turned a routine robbery into a textbook tactical response. Sam handled the attention with characteristic reserve, neither seeking praise nor deflecting it entirely. Harold Brennan, the elderly customer who had been caught in the crossfire, returned the following Tuesday with a gift, a small American flag for Sam's booth. "I served in Vietnam," he told her quietly. "Recognize the bearing. Thank you for your service, both then and now." Sam accepted the flag and placed it next to her register, where it caught the fluorescent light like a small beacon. "Just doing my job," she replied, but there was something different in her voice. Not pride exactly, but acceptance. The gas station still operates 24 hours, and Sam still works the night shift. But something fundamental has changed. She no longer sees the job as a retreat from her military service. She sees it as a continuation of it. Protecting and serving looks different in civilian clothes, but the mission remains the same. Late at night, when the highways are empty and the world is quiet, Sam Foster stands watch in her fluorescent-lit outpost. She serves coffee to insomniacs, sells lottery tickets to dreamers, and maintains a small corner of safety in an uncertain world. And if trouble comes looking for easy prey, it will find instead a Marine who never forgot her oath to defend. Some heroes wear dress blues and march in parades. Others wear name tags and work night shifts, asking for nothing more than the chance to serve in whatever way the mission requires. Both kinds matter. Both kinds protect. And when the moment comes, both kinds remember that service to others is a calling that transcends uniform or setting. Now, I ask you, have you ever met someone whose humble job hid extraordinary courage? Someone who served without recognition until crisis revealed their true character? Share their story in the comments below, because at the Silent Heroes, we believe that heroes work the night shift too. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please subscribe and help us honor those who serve in silence. And remember, sometimes The guardian you're looking for is the person behind the counter, keeping watch while the world sleeps.